So, we've just put the final touches on our blanket fort. Cozy, isn't it? The pitter-patter is coming down now, isn't it? So, okay. I thought it might be fun while we wait for the cookies. I've made a whole batch of lovely cookies. I thought it might be fun for us to read a fairy tale together. What do you think? All right. Let me take a look-see. Decide which one we'll want to read. Do you have a preference? Let me read some of them. We could do Sleeping Beauty, classic. Ricky with a Tuft, Puss in Boots, we could do Cinderella. Yeah. We haven't read The Baker's Apprentice in a while. All right. Let's read The Baker's Apprentice, shall we? How are you feeling? Nice and cozy, I hope. Here, let me adjust your blanket. There. Perfect. All right. Let us begin. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a monstrous dragon named Moidron. Moidron was feared from hill to sea, for his fiery breath charred many an innocent villager in Kilney Rock. Season after season passed, and the villagers began to lose hope. That was until a warm and friendly baker happened upon the small village and took up the burden of doing something about this dragon. After some contemplation, she decided to bake a gigantic pie once a fortnight to keep old Moidren's hunger pangs at bay and allow the villagers to live in peace. It worked. Years passed, and the village of Kilney Rock went back to its slow, predictable pace. This is where our story begins, with a curious little girl who just got word she'd been accepted as the baker's very first apprentice. Chapter 1. The Apprentice. Fidget awoke with a start. Panic rose in her chest as she threw open the window sash. Despite the deluge pouring from the heavens, light flooded in, illuminating the tiny attic room. Quite the deluge pouring down now, isn't there? Where was I? Let's see. Oh, here we are. Oh, crickets, Fidget croaked as she snatched her smock and threw on her shoes, hobbling to the bedroom door. She stumbled down the stairs and bolted out the front door. She took off across the meadow and sped straight through Clicknick Forest. Rain pelting her bare arms as she ran. Feels so cozy to read this, as we can hear this rain coming down, isn't it? All right. She'd never been one to keep the time, but this was different. Today was a special day, and she didn't want to mess it up like she always seemed to. She did her best to ignore the calls of the woods, but her head turned left and right, almost unconsciously, the sounds in the thicket beckoning her. She charged ahead, the exertion clawing at her throat. At long last she arrived, panting, at the quaint dwelling at the far end of Beasley Bend. The chipped red door had a hand-painted wooden sign hanging to a nail by a rather stubborn piece of twine, reading Belinda's Bakery. Belinda's Bakery. I'd like to go there. Fidget breathed a sigh of relief and tapped the iron knocker thrice upon its hold. Belinda was a woman of great mystery and intrigue, and for the life of her, Fidget could not understand why Belinda would want her for an apprentice. A lonely orphan, the likes of whom no one seemed to have any time for or any interest in. Aside from curiosity, Fidget had no distinguishable characteristics, at least not that she'd been made aware of, although her uncle seemed to think she had a certain proclivity for mischief. He'd reluctantly taken her in after the fog crept over the Southlands, stealing her family from her. "You're late," a voice boomed from the other side of the door. "I'm terribly sorry. I'm not interested in what you were or weren't doing that prevented you from being here on time, but you have no spare moments for knocking. Come in and we'll begin." As she stepped through the threshold, her senses were flooded with the sounds, sights, and smells of the bakery. Chocolate delicacies, with icing as smooth as silk, piled high on frilly, multi-tiered cake stands. Pies stood cooling on every imaginable surface. Delectable pastries, layers as crisp as autumn leaves, were freckled with flecks of gold. A coral-coloured cake was adorned with toasted coconuts, reminiscent of a spongy sea creature. The smells were all so scrumptious, from treats of cardamom and molasses to the vines weaving their way up the walls of wisteria, and even a bouquet of, was it crocus? The sounds as well, a cacophony of bubbles, clangs, clacks, ticks, pots and pans parading about as if of their own accord. The pitter-patter on the roof was nearly drowned out by the sounds inside this enchanted little dwelling. How are you feeling? Cozy? Good. It's such a cozy day, isn't it? All right, I'll keep reading. Where was I? Let's see. Sounds as well. Cacophony of bubbles, bangs, pitter-patter, cardamom, scrumptious, enchanted. Here we are. It was only when the latch caught on the door that Fidget emerged from her mystified stupor. She stepped forth, awestruck, and only then realized there was a pebble caught deep within her shoe. As she bent to remove it, Belinda popped out from behind a pile of pastries, arms laden with an assortment of ingredients. She unloaded them on a tray and dropped it unceremoniously in front of Fidget on what appeared to be the only unoccupied surface. Chop. I love this story. The rest of the day, Fidget hardly stopped moving. She chopped and prepped, fancy ingredients unfamiliar in her clumsy hands. All the while, she was enveloped in the deliciousness of creams and cakes and pies and bakes, and a feeling of deep appreciation swelled inside her. By the time dusk crept across the land, her face was covered in flour and her eyes were sore from concentration. It was easy to disregard the strain, as the exhilaration from the newness of it all gave her a profound sense of pride. She had finished. No reproachable misconduct to report, but simply a lovely day, well spent and well worked. A smile spread its way across her lips. That's all now. Be back tomorrow at daybreak. And thus her apprenticeship began. All right, that's the end of chapter 1. So, what did you think? All right, We'll have to wait to see what happens in Chapter 2. The Dragon. Sounds like the patter on the roof, doesn't it? Alright. Our cookies should be done fairly soon. So, let me go have a look. I'll be right back. Stay nice and cozy. Here we are. Lovely, warm chocolate chip cookies and some milk for the dunking. They smell so good. Oh my. Well, let's dive in to have some of these while we listen to the rain pitter-pattering on the roof, shall we? I've also brought a lovely little napkin to make sure that we don't get our faces dirty. Alright, so now you're all tucked in, so would you like me to dunk your cookie for you and then maybe feed you? Alright. Let me pick just the right one. They all look so good. Here. How about this one? Lovely. Just dunk it in the milk here. Alright, that should be good. Here we go. Straight in, you all set. Yum. Just place your napkin here for you. Lovely. How do you like it? One more bite. Lovely. There we go. Good. Glad you enjoy it. Let me have one for myself. A little dunk. All right. Yeah. I imagine I've got chocolate all over my face. Yeah, perfect. So good. All right. I'm a bit self-conscious. Take my napkin. Got yours then? These are so good. While we were reading that chapter, I kept thinking to myself, I cannot wait to have those cookies. They're so moist and rich and perfect for eating underneath this blanket fort. All right. Well, let's sit and enjoy the rest. Okay. Maybe we can take a little bit of a nap. Okay. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm sure I'll see you very soon.